PM instructs KP, KM and Knuckle to address rice and paddy issue by 20th March. Government to look for alternative to strengthen ringgit value. Good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Daryl Baptist and you are watching Malaysia Tonight. The Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and National Action Council on Cost of Living, also known as NACOL, has been given until 20th March to address the price of paddy and rice issue. According to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, the government requires a bit more time to set a fair price for this basic necessity, as the interests of both consumers and farmers need to be considered.
Bila mai soal dasar, nak tetapkan dasar harga padi umpamanya, itu kita harus sabar sekejap, ikut proses sebelum kita muktamadkan. Saya juga telah bercakap sendiri dengan pengurusan Bernas dalam mesyuarat NACOL baru-baru ini supaya mencari jalan import beras dan juga pengeluaran tempatan dinaikkan.
He said this at the closing ceremony of Central Zone Madani Rakyat program at the Kuala Selangor Sports Complex today. Paddy Beras Nasional Berhad, also known as Bernas, will examine international rice market conditions, operating costs and foreign exchange rates. This is to assist the government's efforts in offering lower-priced imported white rice. In a statement released today, Bernas assured that it remains dedicated to fulfilling social obligations in managing the nation's rice reserves and serving as the buyer of last resort. Bernas reiterates its stance in providing full cooperation to the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry, related agencies and authorities in searching for the best intervention mechanisms and steps to ensure a stable and sufficient rice supply for Malaysians. Bernas also welcomes Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's suggestion to examine and refine the Madani White Rice Scheme. It stressed the importance of conducting a comprehensive engagement session involving all relevant parties before making any decisions. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said the government will introduce a targeted urban agriculture program in a shift towards increasing the country's agricultural output. Datuk Seri Anwar said the success of urban farming programs in neighbouring Singapore should be explored and emulated for implementation in areas with limited land in urban and suburban areas, starting with Kuala Lumpur. He said the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and other ministries and agencies involved had been given a month to submit suitable plans for the program.
Jadi saya harap dalam tempoh 1 bulan selepas pengumuman ini ada program yang akan diperkenalkan oleh kementerian dan kementerian-kementerian yang berkaitan tentang satu anjakan daripada yang meneruskan yang sekarang ini kepada pengeluaran hasil pertanian di mana ada kesukaran tanah, tidak ada tanah. Ini dilakukan di beberapa kota, agak berhasil dalam beberapa bidang di Singapura, dan saya tahu ada beberapa tindakan diambil, dijalankan di Kuala Lumpur sendiri.
On another matter, the proposal to increase the overnight policy rate, also known as OPR, will only burden the people in the country. Datuk Seri Anwar said the government is looking for the best solutions to strengthen the ringgit value.
Walaupun ini bidang kuasa bank negara, kalau naik kadar faedah yang pinjam pinjaman untuk kenderaan, pinjaman rumah, peniaga-peniaga kecil yang pinjam dari bank, semua naik. jumlah hutang mereka. Jadi kadang-kadang untuk saya, apalagi untuk bank negara, dia kena fikir nak kuatkan ringgit dengan naik OPR kadar faedah, ataupun nak imbangi supaya ringgit jangan terlalu jatuh dan peniaga-peniaga dan peminjam tidak terbeban dengan hutang yang bertambah.
The Premier also said that efforts are being intensified to minimize the impact of lower ringgit value, while at the same time reducing the burden experienced by the people. Datuk Sri Anwar further explained that the depreciation of currency is also faced by other ASEAN countries, such as Japan and China. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi expressed hope that the Malaysian Youth Council, or MBM, will continue to be an agent of unity in shaping the mindset of youths and helping the government to achieve more success. He said MBM, established 75 years ago, should use its experience and maturity as a guide for it to formulate a more inclusive and holistic MBM Vision 2048. Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid hopes that MBM can continue to be a plant that produces national leaders, overcome all challenges with togetherness, tenacity and wisdom, and remain a relevant and influential council in raising the voice of the youth. In a post on social media, he also cautioned the MBM leadership led by its president, Izzat Afifi Abdul Hamid, of the changing approach and challenges that they have to experience. He added that on their shoulders is the trust for an agenda that suits the needs of the current generation. He also said he has high hopes for MBM to continue to shoulder the responsibility of leading the direction of the youth towards building a towering Madani generation. Up next in business, geopolitical uncertainty affect ringgit performance. Stay with us.
Kita perkenalkan sistem padu pangkalan data utama. Pertama, ia selaras dengan pendekatan dan dasar transformasi digital. Kedua, menjamin supaya manfaat dan kemudahan itu dinikmati oleh orang yang berhak menerimanya. Dan tentunya dengan cara yang sedemikian, mengurangkan kos, mengurangkan ketirisan. Dan kaedah diperkenalkan melalui padu ini ialah secara tidak langsung memaksa setiap warga negara faham tentang transformasi digital dan menggunakan sistem padu. Dengan sendirinya kita ada pencerahan kecelekan budaya dan kecelekan digital.
Welcome back. The geopolitical uncertainty has given an impact to the current ringgit performance. Centre for Market Education, CME, Chief Executive Officer Carmelo Ferlito is of the view that this is following the investors' decision to choose the US dollar and the Singapore dollar as a safe investment when dealing with such uncertainties. Therefore, Ferlito said the investors' decision in making both dollars as the basis of the global economy has further strengthened their positions. Apart from that, the high interest rates in the US and Singapore, as compared to Malaysia, has also affected the ringgit performance.
Interest rates are in the United States and in Singapore higher than they are in Malaysia. The fact that inflation is a more pressing issue in the United States and in Singapore is pushing those central banks to keep interest rates higher for a longer time. Inflation is higher there because their deployment of fiscal aggressive and expansive.
In the meantime, the slow economic growth in China also has its impact, considering the country is an important trading partner of Malaysia. However, Felito remains optimistic that the government's commitment in making Malaysia a business-friendly destination will bring about a positive change to the country's economy.
Utility giant Tenaga Nasional Berhad, or more commonly known as TNB, is committed to a rapid and responsible energy transition, electrifying 30% of its operational fleet by 2030, totaling more than 1,000 vehicles. President and Chief Executive Officer Datuk Seri Baharin Din said the strategic move is in alignment with Malaysia's ambitious goal of achieving carbon neutrality by 2050.
In a significant step towards realizing the commitment, TNB is accelerating its transition to electric vehicles, or EVs, with the deployment of 98 new units, comprising 78 electric pickup trucks and 20 electric vans. This brings the total number of EVs in the TNB fleet to 127. Datuk Seri Baharin said this substantial commitment significantly contributes to the government's target of having 20% EVs in total industry volume sales by 2030, in line with the National Automotive Policy 2020. He said the shift to EVs by TNB is projected to result in a yearly reduction of 2,200 to 4,833 tons of carbon dioxide, equivalent to approximately 88,000 to 193,320 trees as an offset by 2030. The economic benefits of TNB's EV adoption initiative are substantial, with anticipated cost savings ranging from 35% to 86% on repair and maintenance, and 25% to 70% lower energy costs compared to conventional fossil fuel vehicles.
The development of Tun Razak Exchange, or TRX, will be one of Malaysia's pride, with the potential of becoming the new Kuala Lumpur's business centre. One of its investors, Lend-Lease Group from Australia, stated that TRX has recorded 5 million visitors within just 2 months since its shopping centre began its operations.
Hence, the multinational construction company is optimistic on their investment outlook, as TRX is expected to strengthen their portfolio.
We're a long-term investor, so when Lend-Lease builds projects, we like to own the project for a long time. So the key for us now is get the assets stabilised. We'll then look to bring in other international investors with us in time, and it's actually making sure we stay here for a long time.
TRX, developed by its main developer, TRX City Sendirian Berhad, a subsidiary company fully owned by the Finance Ministry. Aside from Lend-Lease, main investors in TRX also includes Mulia Group from Indonesia, HSBC Malaysia, Affin Bank and Prudential Malaysia.
The Malaysia International Halal Showcase, also known as MIHAS, is poised for international expansion, acknowledging the importance and urgency of extending its influence beyond domestic borders. The inaugural effort, called MIHAS at Dubai, will kick off with the event being held within the West Asia Organic and Natural Product Expo in Dubai from 18th to 20th November, aiming to achieve sales totaling 1 billion ringgit.
Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, also known as MATRADE, Chief Executive Officer Dato' Muhammad Mustafa Abdul Aziz said this strategic initiative acknowledges the potential for growth and emphasizes the importance of establishing MIHAS as a global renowned event. He noted that the internationalization of MIHAS is an initiative to take the brand to greater heights, as well as to attract a diverse array of participants and buyers, particularly from the West Asian, South Asian and African markets, to the flagship event in Kuala Lumpur. With an ambitious target of 1 billion ringgit in sales during the event, Martrade demonstrates its commitment to significant revenue generation and market penetration. By establishing MIHAS as a globally recognized event, Martrade seeks to position Malaysia as a leading player in the international halal industry.
Tourism Johor is aiming to attract more than 20 million tourist arrivals this year, considering the state's impressive record of over 15 million tourists last year. Therefore, its director Shahril Nizam Abdul Rahim said efforts to promote the state will continue to be intensified to attract tourists through 6 tourism segments, namely ecotourism, sports, health, education, history and gastronomy.
That's why kita cakap untuk membolehkan kita mendapatkan lebih pelancong, that's why promosi itu pun kena lebih. Sekarang pun yang di Pertuan Agong pun daripada Johor. So saya yakin orang luar mesti nak datang ke Johor nak melihat sebenarnya apa culture dan heritage yang ada dalam negeri Johor.
Shahril Nizam also revealed that Tourism Johor will monitor all projects to upgrade the infrastructure of tourist spots in the state implemented by relevant agencies. He added the progress of the projects will be reported directly to Johor Menteri Besar Dato' On Hafiz Ghazi, who holds the state's tourism portfolio. Among the tourist spots that are being upgraded in the state are Johor Zoo and national parks. He said Tourism Johor must take note of the allocations allocated by the state government to related agencies to upgrade the infrastructure of the tourist spots.
Samsung Electronics is planning to unveil the design of the envisioned Galaxy Ring smart device at the next week's Mobile World Congress in Spain. The showcase comes in line with Samsung's electronics efforts to adopt artificial intelligence technologies in a wider array of devices to offer personalized healthcare experiences.
As part of this portfolio, the company said the Galaxy Ring is being unveiled as a new health form factor that simplifies everyday wellness, supporting smarter and healthier living via a more connected digital wellness platform, Samsung Health. Samsung is set to display the latest ring-type device in 3 colors at the Mobile World Congress, which will kick off tomorrow in Barcelona. The devices, however, will be presented within transparent boxes, limiting the hands-on experience for visitors. The new product was first teased during the Galaxy S24 Unpacked event held in California last month. The Galaxy Ring is anticipated to hit store shelves during the second half of this year.
With demand for gold purchases booming since the Lunar New Year, banks across China are ramping up marketing efforts and expanding their offerings with exclusive gold products to leverage the sizable market opportunity.
Many banks have released Year of the Dragon gold medals, gold coins and lucky charms, with some even rolling out gold bracelets. To attract consumers, some banks launched wedding series, including hairpins, lock charms and bracelets, while others partnered with artists for cultural theme collections. Staff members from multiple bank branches in Beijing all said that the gold buying frenzy has led to a significant increase in sales of gold products. Customer manager at a bank branch in Beijing, Meng Jing, said the transaction amount for gold jewelry has increased by over 30% compared with the same period last year. Meanwhile, Wu Wurong, personal finance business manager of Bank of China Dongguan branch in Dongguan City, said sales of auspicious gold bars in the bank branch have seen an almost 50% year-on-year increase.
In our foreign news, Cambodian ex-PM Hun Sen set to return to political fronts. Stay tuned. Cambodian officials voted in a Senate election on Sunday, setting the stage for ex-leader Hun Sen to officially return to politics after he stepped down as Prime Minister last year. After nearly 4 decades of hardline rule, Hun Sen handed power to his eldest son, Han Manet, after national polls last July held without any significant opposition.
Hun Sen, at the time, made it clear that despite his resignation, he still intended to wield influence. The 71-year-old lawmaker and chief of the ruling party cast his ballot near his home in Tak Mau City on Sunday morning for a seat in the Senate, the country's upper house. Hun Sen has said that he intends to become president of the Senate, allowing him to act as head of state when the king is overseas. 4 political parties, including Hun Sen's ruling Cambodian People's Party, or CPP, the royalist Fun Sin Pek Party, and 2 small opposition parties are participating. Of the 62-seat Senate, 58 seats will be voted on by 125 MPs and more than 11,000 local administrators. King Norodom Sihamoni will appoint 2 senators, while the National Assembly will appoint 2 others. Most eligible voters are members of the CPP, who made a clean sweep of the Senate last election, making Hun Sen's victory all but certain. The election follows lawmakers approving Hun Sen's youngest son, Han Meni, as a deputy prime minister. The government now includes a number of Hun Sen's relatives, with several children of his allies also holding top jobs.
And now on to the Philippines. Hundreds of Filipino protesters marched through Manila on Sunday, marking the anniversary of the uprising that ousted Ferdinand Marcos, while vowing to prevent his son from repeating the dictatorship. Marcos Jr. won the presidency in a landslide in 2022, nearly 4 decades after a people power uprising ended his late father's 20-year rule and chased the clan into exile in the United States.
While Marcos Jr. remains popular, his campaign to alter the 1987 constitution has proved divisive. Critics warn the effort could lead to the abolishment of term limits, with presidents currently allowed just 1 6-year stint in office. Marcos maintains he is primarily seeking to amend the charter's economic provisions to allow more foreign investment and ideally create more jobs. He has said the political aspects, including term limits, should be tackled later. According to police in Manila, a few hundred people joined Sunday's march, a far cry from the crowd that paralyzed the capital's main avenue over 4 days in February 1986, until the military withdrew its support for the elder Marcos. Rights groups say Marcos Sr.'s regime jailed, tortured or killed tens of thousands of critics, including religious leaders, journalists and student activists, while corruption left the country impoverished. Marcos Jr. and his family returned to the Philippines after his father's death in 1989 and begun a remarkable political comeback.
Moving on to Africa, West Africa's regional bloc, ECOWAS, on Saturday said it was lifting some of the sanctions imposed on Niger after last year's military coup. A no-fly zone, border closures and asset freezes were among the measures being stopped with immediate effect on humanitarian grounds.
Niger's president, Mohamed Bazoum, was ousted in a military coup last July, prompting the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, to suspend trade and impose tough sanctions. But the bloc's warning of military intervention has fizzled out, with little sign that Bazoum, still imprisoned in the presidential palace in Niamey, is close to being restored. ECOWAS Commission Chief Omar Aliou Touré called for Bazoum's immediate release at the summit in Nigeria's capital. He said the measures to be lifted included the freezing of Niger's assets in ECOWAS central banks and the suspension of financial transactions between ECOWAS states and Niger. However, Touré said individual sanctions as well as political sanctions remain in place in Niger. West Africa has been rocked by a series of political crises, and Nigeria's president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, told the leaders they were meeting at a critical juncture. Following recent coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger and Guinea, the four have been suspended from the organization and were not represented at the summit.
Up next in sports, Arsenal red-hot form continues in win against Newcastle. Stay with us. Kicking off our sports segment this evening, Arsenal's free-scoring Premier League form continued as Newcastle were blown away 4-1 at the Emirates on Saturday to move back within 2 points of leaders Liverpool. Mikel Arteta's men stumbled to a 1-0 Champions League defeat at Porto in midweek, but were quickly back on the horse domestically to take their tally to 25 goals in 6 consecutive Premier League wins.
Arsenal's prowess from set pieces forced an own goal from Sven Botman before Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka and Jakub Kiwior from another corner killed off Newcastle. The Gunners are aiming to win a first league title in 20 years and keen to make amends for faltering down the final straight last season as Manchester City stormed clear on their way to win the treble. Arsenal are the side in red-hot form, but remain in third, 1 point behind second-placed City, with the title race fascinatingly poised 12 games from the end of the season. Defeat is another blow to Newcastle's aspiration of European football next season. Eddie Howe's men were outclassed to remain down in 8th, 15 points adrift off the top 4, and have now conceded 23 goals in their last 8 league games.
And now some news for tennis fans. Karen Khachanov ended Jakub Mensic's bid to become the 10th youngest ATP champion with a straight-set win in the Qatar Open final on Saturday. The 17th-ranked Russian won 7-6, 6-4 to claim a 6th career title against 18-year-old Mensik, the youngest finalist at a tour event since Carlos Alcaraz at UMAG in 2021.
Czech teenager Mensik, ranked 116, who will break into the top 100 next week, was playing in just his third main draw event, following breakout runs to the third round of the 2023 US Open and a second-round appearance at the Australian Open last month. On his way to the Doha final, he knocked out former world number 1 Andy Murray, as well as top seed Andrei Rublev. He had his chances in a marathon opener on Saturday when his 27-year-old Russian opponent saved 4 set points. Khachanov also faced down 16 aces from the young Czech. Khachanov, who did not drop a set all week, is set to climb up 2 spots to 15th when the latest rankings are released.
And that concludes the end of tonight's bulletin. A recap of our headline today. PM instructs KPKM and NACOL to address rice and paddy issue by 20th March. Do join us tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 p.m. on TV2 for your daily world updates. Till then, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Darryl Baptist. Thank you for watching and have a good night.